So the shortcut being the Chicago Portage. So it's basically you put your canoe on your head and you have to walk through swampy marshland to get to the next navigatable waterway in order to row. You can't row through the swamp, or you can't row through this wet land. So the shortcut, the discovery, quote unquote, of this shortcut was pretty revolutionary, really.
Y bienvenidos a otro nuevo video, amigos. Este video lo empecé porque empecé a tener unos problemillas con mi otra cámara, no se mira muy bien de noche, pero bienvenidos a otro nuevo video, un video de noche, un video de los canales de Chicago. Muy interesante, y no estaré hablando mucho en este video porque tenemos una persona que viene explicando la arquitectura de los edificios y la historia de Chicago a orilla del canal. Así que los dejo, espero que lo disfruten.
Fast forward a little more, we're now in 1837. Chicago becomes established as a city or a town. And we then have 1871, the 40s and 50s, the railroad tracks start to take place. Remember, we're seeing the railroads converge here. We're in a very geographically strategic point here in Chicago due to the waterways and land mass as well. We're in the middle of the country. Roughly in the middle of the 40s here. Now we have 1871, the Great Chicago Fire. I'm going to tell a story down the river, but it's 1890 now, and the United States wants to host the World's Fair, the World's Columbian Exposition, to commemorate the 400 years of Columbus arriving at this continent, right? 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. So fast forward, we are roughly going to be projected a fair of 1892, ended up being 1893, but Chicago really wanted to host this fair. I mean, we were just coming off of our fire 20 years prior, but we were already building right away. We had a lot of great architecture coming up, but we wanted to be seen as a city of culture, a city to be respected, not just this hogwash slaughter town, right? The meatpacking industry center here, the lumber industry center here, this big industrial dirty town. We wanted to be seen compared in the rankings with our East Coast friends, right? Boston, New York, DC, what have you. So we sent our best politicians down to Washington to lobby for this fair. They lobbied their little hearts out, so much so that a New York journalist published something along the lines of, "Aren't you sick of these?" 1893, you cannot just hop on Southwest and take an Uber to Jackson Park. You have to be dedicated to coming to this fair either by rail, ship, horse and buggy, all of the above. And we saw a lot of firsts at this fair. We saw the first Ferris wheel happen to be here in Chicago. George Washington Ferris wanted to build his own version of the Eiffel Tower, which debuted at the Paris World's Fair just a few years prior. Had this idea for a steel wheel. We saw the first zipper, the first dishwasher, a bunch of food I'm just going to name off: juicy fruit gum, cream of wheat, Aunt Jemima's pancake mix, Cracker Jacks. The first brownie all debuted at this fair. And we saw excellent entertainment, showmanship, Buffalo Bill, Little Egypt, all of these things that really did what Chicago intended it to do. It brought us income, it brought us tourism, and it put Chicago back on the map as a city to be respected, a city not to be messed with, a city that is up there in the rankings to our friends over on the east. We're not just this hogwash slaughter town, we're not just this farm frontier town, we're Chicago, we're a booming industrial metropolis, a city of opportunity and renewal. Now, we do commemorate the World's Fair on the third star on our flag. The fourth star being the World's Fair that we hosted 40 years later, the Century of Progress in 1933. I won't tell a story about that fair, but if you are curious to see what the fourth star is. And we'll get back to the buildings now. On our right, we see a building that looks like it was built upside down, kind of, more or less. Just after the bridge, you'll see 150 North Riverside. The base of this building is only about 40 feet wide, about the width of this boat. Yet there's 54 stories stacked above it. How do they do it? The architectural firm is called Guías and Partners. Those are architects. And they have called a mass damper system, which is basically 160,000 gallons of water in 6 concrete silos will sway or slosh to the opposite direction that the wind is blowing in order to keep that building in equilibrium. Mass damper systems don't traditionally use water as their counterweights, but there are a few buildings here that do so. That building was finished in 2017, and I'm no engineer, so it shocks me just as much as it shocks you, if it shocks you at all. 100 North Riverside is next. They had a different challenge. This is the Boeing International headquarters. In 1990, it was for the Morton Salt Company. Of course, Boeing is now centered here alongside United Airlines. They kind of work hand in hand. But if you look at the corner of the building all the way in the end, it says the Boeing store on the bottom. And then if you look up, count 5 pillars toward the boat. This section of the building is suspended from the top down. How and why? Well, it's built over switch tracks. You will see the train, the metro if you're taking the commuter rail to a nearby suburb, or the Amtrak, of course, if you are going to a nearby or far away city. Union Station is just up the block, Canal Adams. Now, we are underneath Gateway Centers 1 and 2. These matching buildings here on our right side, just above the tracks. These are modernism or internationalism style buildings, if you were not able to tell, but they look very similar to that A&A Plaza by Mies van der Rohe. These are not Mies van der Rohe, these are Bruce Graham, but here we see the legacy of Mies van der Rohe. And I also write simple black box, glass and steel are the stars here. Less is more is your philosophy, no unnecessary ornamentation. And I do see that simplicity, I think, in our postmodern style buildings. We still focus on that glass and steel, that slick look. So that's kind of your 70s version of the skyscrapers that we're seeing coming up today. Now, some of you may have already caught a peek, but on our left side, I'll build up some suspense here. As soon as we pass the Samita Health building, the white building, you will be looking at what was once the tallest building in the world for 24 years. It's still the tallest in the city, the WILLIS, pronounced Sears Tower. There it is. Designed by Bruce Graham in 1973 and structural engineering said to be genius Fazlur Khan in Bangladesh. If you notice those 4, oh, they're like not even lit right now. There's 4 glass boxes. You can kind of tell the depth perception at the top of the building, underneath the antennas. If you so dare, you can quite literally step outside the facade of this building, and the only thing separating you and about 100 floors below you would be about a few inches of glass. It's a tourist attraction of the last 10 years or so called the Ledge. But if you are looking for a nice viewpoint from a high point in the city, I would not recommend the Ledge. I would recommend 360 Chicago in the John Hancock Center, which they're now calling 875 North Michigan Avenue. 360 is a way better view. It's right on the lake. You can see the entire coastline of the lake. If you're in the Ledge, you're kind of just facing the suburbs and the highway. It's more for the experience of being in that glass box. But 360 does now have that tilt situation where you tilt out 45 degrees. I haven't done it yet. But, of course, they also do have the signature lounge on the 95th floor. It's a restaurant. Again, a price your cocktail before paying for that view. And the view from the women's restroom of Michigan Avenue is supposed to be breathtaking, so sorry boys, you miss it. Now we do have what was the country's, if not the world's largest post office on our right side. It's the old post office, that's its official name now. We did have the catalog center here, right? So we're shipping out a lot of things. We had the rail and the road running through the building, which of course now is the highway. The building was actually left vacant for 20 years. Imagine a building this size where we weren't using it at all. Somebody bought it in 2016. He wanted to make it a casino. The city was not too happy about this, of course. He pushed on his plans. He had to sell the building just 2 years later. Actually died the week of the sale. Did not get to see his casino dream come to life. And to give you an idea of that, I didn't get to enjoy the fortune either. To give you an idea of that size, there is a 3-acre green roof on the roof of that building. So again, a garden or vegetation, giving us the chance for some greenery in you know, around the city where there might not be physical space on the ground, but having it on the rooftops is a good use of space. There are a lot of other cities in the country that are doing a similar thing. I know DC has a lot of green roofs as well. So we're coming in structures. 100,000 people were left homeless. It was absolute pandemonium, and about 300 people died. So it was a very huge tragedy for the city, but it also was a second opportunity to build a second city, which is why we're called the second city. It is not because we're second to New York, as they may like us to believe, but it is because this is the second city of Chicago built on the rubble and ruin of the old city of Chicago. And this time we did it right. It was a lot more planned out. Everything in this city is by design. The alleys, the grid, the L system, the open lakefront. It's a very calculated city, which is why it's awesome. But for one example, the river on our right side here is very straight. Now, Mother Nature does not make rivers this straight. It used to bend in this open plot of land you see here, where you see this open stretch of land, kind of a half moon bend, half circle bend. Of course, having a bend in your river is not very convenient if you're trying to build a metropolis with a grid and with railroads, right? We have the Amtrak rail yard on our right side to maintenance Amtrak's around the country or cars. And on the left, if they wanted to run the road through here, it would have been a lot easier to have a straighter south branch of your river. You might be noticing signs for 78 Chicago. Wow, that timing right here, 78 Chicago, or welcome to the 78s. Chicago does have 77 neighborhoods, and I do encourage you not to neglect our neighborhoods during your stay here. Of course, there's lots of fun things to do downtown, but please take at least one opportunity to maybe get some food or something in one of our neighborhoods here. This will be the 78th neighborhood. It will apparently be called the 78th. I think it's tacky and unoriginal. That's just my opinion. As most developments go, it'll be done by 2040, it'll be done by 2050. Maybe by the time available for questions and mingling a little. And that's it. I'll hit the mic back again, talk a little bit more about the engineering for this year.
Y así va el viaje por este bote, amigos. ¿Cómo les ha parecido? A mí está muy chévere. Antes de despedir el video voy a ir a dar una vueltecita por ahí abajo, por la cubierta, por el interior del barco y a ver qué vemos por ahí. Pero estoy dejando que primero tomen unas fotos aquí unas personas abajo de mí. Se tardaron como 20.000 horas en tomar una foto, pero ahí vamos. Vamos a ver con qué cuenta este bote.
No se me quitaba. Y esta como que estaba así como que todos los días me que estaba ahí.
Entonces parece que tiene una barrita por aquí. Miren, aquí está la barrita. Aquí está la parte de atrás. Ahí van echando fiesta. Vamos a seguir viendo por acá atrás rapidito. Vamos a entrar rápido a ver qué es lo que tienen por aquí. Ah, miren. Ahí está la barra para el que quiera ordenar. Por aquí están los baños. Ahí está Manny. Y vamos a ver por aquí, por este lado. Miren por aquí de este lado, amigos. Otra vez, si este video ya se me está extendiendo. Ha sido un viaje muy agradable. Había empezado a grabar con mi otra cámara, pero como que la calidad no era tan agradable como con la del celular en este momento. A ver qué están haciendo por ahí. Oh, ahí hay como una fiestecita ahí. Sí, es una fiestecita. Vamos a seguir mirando por aquí. Y yo creo que ya después de esto voy a despedir el video para que no se haga tan largo. Vamos de regreso. Oh, excuse me.
Pero igual sí.
Vamos a terminar el video por ahí. Aquí el capitán había parado. Parece que algo por ahí, otro bote se había descompuesto. Y ya está mirando muy oscuro. Me voy. Espero que este video te haya gustado y lo dejo con esa imagen. Nos vemos. Chao, chao. Hasta la próxima porque el video se me alargó mucho. Bye bye.